Sam Smyers here. Today I want to talk about transition effects for your songs. Transitions are going to help you get from one section into a new section and create tension and release. In this video, I'm going to go through some of my favorite ways to create these transitions, so let's go ahead and jump into it. Now, if you enjoy videos like this, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing to my channel because that will help you stay updated with future videos just like this. Let me go ahead and play you this track, and I'll play you one section going into a different section. So no transition, but let's see what happens when we add a white noise riser in between that first section going into the second section. Let me add a MIDI track. Then I'll add a MIDI clip. Insert MIDI clip. Then let's just add a MIDI note. I'm going to choose C and extend this all the way to the whole length of our clip. Now that I have that MIDI note, I am going to use operator to create our white noise sound. So I am inserting operator, and then let's deactivate all these oscillators because we're just going to be using one oscillator, and that oscillator is going to be a white noise. So let's go to noise white. Now that's going to be a white noise sound. Let's turn this down. So that level seems all right to me. Let's go ahead and give this sound a bit of a spread to give it some width. And then we are going to begin adjusting the filter. And the filter is how we are going to add that riser effect. So what you can do is you can go to click on this filter and then click on this button here to open up the filter visual. And then you can adjust this high cut to create your riser. And that would be how you create your riser effect. So I was just adjusting that manually, and what you can do is automate it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a band pass filter, and then I'm going to go to this OSR, which is going to add some drive to the filter and increase the drive here. And let's listen to that. That's just going to give me a bit of a different effect than using just that high cut filter. So I just zoomed in, and I'm going to go ahead and create some automation for our filter. Let's see how that sounds. Let's check it out in the track. Let's turn it up a bit. See, now that sounds a lot better going into that second section. We can also add some different effects to our riser. We can add a chorus and then also some reverb. So let me add a chorus. I will use this chorus plugin. It's a free plugin, so you can grab this. It's Tal Chorus LX. And then let's add some reverb. Cool, so that is our effect that we're going to use. Let's check it out in the track. So as you can hear at the end of that sound, the reverb still echoes out. So what you can do is go ahead and freeze this track, and then you can go ahead and flatten it. So now you just have that waveform, and then you can go ahead and delete this extra tail of the reverb. So that just cuts off. So that is how you do that white noise riser. And what you can also do is you have the riser here, and if you want to create what is also known as a down riser, then I could duplicate this and then hit R to reverse it. And now we have that rising up and rising down after that second section comes in. I could also edit this a bit more and maybe make it not as loud and happen quicker. So let's check that out. So another thing that I like to do for white noise risers is I like to use auto pan. I'll go up here and search for auto pan. That is going to be an audio effect. So here's the auto pan. And what I like to do with the auto pan is I like to automate the amounts and the rate. And so what auto pan does is that it pans the signal from left and right. So if you automate the amount and the rate, then all of a sudden that pan gets faster and faster and louder and louder. So let's go ahead and check out how we can do that. In order to adjust the amounts and the rate, we can right click and put this into a group. So now the group, if I open up this menu, we have the macro menu, and I'm going to assign both the amount and the rate to a macro. So let's map this to macro 1, and I'll map the amount to macro 1. So now as I increase macro 1, both the amounts and the rate increase. I have another video on how to do macro mapping, so I'll put a link in the video description below so that you can watch that video to help you when you are mapping your macros. So let's go ahead and automate that macro. Rise it up. Let me delete this part. So let's check it out in the track. So I really like that effect. I've been using that quite a bit on some recent tracks. It just gives a bit more interesting effect to that white noise riser, and it helps give some spatial depth because you're putting it in the left and right and giving some width to it. So I kind of like that effect a lot. So after doing a white noise riser, sometimes you can use a very reverby snare or a reverby clap to help get you into the second section. So let me show you how to do that. What I could do is I could take the riser that I just made and have it cut off before that snare hits. And then we can check this out. So what happens is it rises into the snare and that snare rings out into the second section. So you could do something like that. If you don't want to use that reverby snare sound, you could also do the same thing with a clap. So I'm just going to use one of the claps that I use in the track. And I have some Valhalla vintage verb on it. Let's increase that to K. And check that out. And we could mute that clap there. So that is another thing that you can do to get into the second section. So another thing that you can do is you can use snare builds or clap builds. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the claps that are already in the track and create a clap build from those claps. So let me go ahead and insert a new audio track, and I'm going to use one of these claps from the track like that. And let's go ahead and duplicate that. So let's go ahead and copy and paste that all the way down. And then we can do claps on every eighth note. And then every 16th note. So then that clap build will sound something like this. And in the track, followed up by that reverby clap. I could also add some reverb to that clap build. And then I could also consolidate this so that now we just have a single clip for that clap build and we can use that for other tracks. You can also go into your clip and you can transpose that last section of the claps up so that it gives you a bit of a riser effect toward the end. So let's go ahead and go to clip and then transposition, and then I can transpose this very last section of that build. So you can do that type of build with claps or snares. You can take the claps from your track or the snare from your track, or you can take some other claps and snares and put them into just the build section to add some variation to your track. Next, I want to show you this effect where we basically reverse part of the second section, like a note of the second section, and use it to build into the second section. So in this second part of this track, I have this bass melody. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the bass note in the beginning here, just that first note. And in order to do that, I'm going to insert an audio track. And then in that audio track, I'm going to go to resampling, activate that, and I'm just going to resample that bass note. So I have this whole bass group soloed, and if I hit record, it's just going to record that bass melody. So I just want that initial bass note, so let's go ahead and chop that down and listen to just that bass note. What I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse it, and then I'm going to use it to build into that original first bass note. Okay, so let's go ahead and check that out in the track. So it's very subtle, but it's just a way to add a bit of tension in between those two sections. It happens very quickly, so you can use this in combination with other transition effects. The last technique that I want to show you is called a washout effect. This washout effect basically cuts off the low end. It adds some delay, it adds some reverb, and it really adds some tension to get into the next section of your track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply this washout effect to the piano. Let's go ahead and insert this washout effect to the end of the chain. So I will put a link to download this washout effect if you want to download it in the video description below. So I will go ahead and automate this washout knob. Let's go ahead and click on the knob and then go ahead and automate this on the piano. And then I'll go ahead and drop it really fast so that that effect cuts off. So now you have that washout effect, you have the riser that you heard, you have that reverby clap that you heard. So just using those all in combination adds a nice transition in between that first section and the second section. So there you have it, guys. Those are some of the transition effects that I like to use in my tracks to get from two different sections and add tension and release. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like and subscribe to my channel, because that will help you stay updated with future videos just like this. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.